Today I would like to talk about boredom. And my invitation is, let's take it slowly. Let's look very, very deeply into the subject, because very often I can hear people who are on spiritual path um, they make a statement, I have this existential boredom. Nothing is interesting any longer. Even those who are not on spiritual path, they express the boredom in a lot of different ways through different distraction, addictions, behavior that represents the escape, the process of escaping. How often do you notice yourself feel bored? And older we become, more and more we notice that. A lot. Many people. What does boredom mean? This is what I want us to reflect today. What boredom really is? What is it pointer to? What is your boredom pointing you to? Sit for a moment and just feel it, maybe through memories. Maybe right now you're bored. I'm talking slowly, I'm not getting to the point just yet, right? So just feel it. What is boredom really? What is a combination of pointers? For example, for those who meditate, do you notice how hard it is to meditate? It feels super boring, very boring. You can notice boredom in a lot of your activities. You feel bored. Or you just sit do absolutely nothing and feel bored. What does it mean? If we look very deeply into the feeling of it, how does it manifest in the body? Agitation. It's like little nagging agitation, but it's very subtle. So it's very hard to notice. People often refer, oh, boredom, nothing happening. Well, no. When we are bored, a lot of things are happening in the body. It's this agitation. Well, now, what are we agitated about? Do we really just don't want to do anything? Because that's what a lot of people say, so bored and I don't want to do anything. Yes, but there is something more to it. Boredom is a repression of what we actually want to do. Notice that right now from your memory if you don't feel it right now. Boredom is a response to you doing something other than what you would rather do. Very often we are not conscious of what we actually want to do instead of what we are doing now. And that's the problem, because when we're really conscious and when it's clear and processed, we're doing that. That's what we would do in that. Yet, very often we are not conscious of that at all. It's somewhere trying to get our attention, and we are not giving it. We are not giving it attention it deserves. Now, why we're not doing it? Because our desires, our impulses are repressed. Because somewhere we justify why that thing, that activity, that impulse should not be expressed. Maybe it's memories of punishment. Maybe you tried to do it to the child and you were punished by parents and you thought, well, that is not the right thing to do. Or maybe we got negative feedback in our adulthood through some, let's say, for example, the work required certain feedback from your audience, approval, and you didn't get it. You get actually quite negative feedback for whatever reason. You were criticized, for example. Now, the thing that you wanted to do, you still want to do them. But this desire becomes very subtle because the fear became much stronger. So you don't hear the voice of the inspiration any longer. You do hear the voice of fear of punishment in any form that comes. It doesn't have to be physical punishment. It can be punishment through criticism. Therefore, you get negative emotional feedback. And it provokes a lot of different negative emotions that are a result of negative thoughts. So there is mental structures that invite negative emotions to be a response to it. I'm not good enough. They don't love me. They don't appreciate me. My work doesn't mean anything. Or I'm not creative. I'm not talented. I mean, whatever it is, right? There are some people who are bad at it. Why am I doing it? And we forget this creative impulse in us that almost defines a certain stage of our life. Is that what we are here to do right now? Because all our being is craving for that, it's longing for that particular kind of expression, but it's like repressed. Instead, we are doing something else. We are browsing, social media forever and ever, seeing nothing interesting there, but we are staring at the screen, or we're staring at our email, checking it every second because maybe there's something entertaining there, or at least it provokes certain emotions because you want to feel it. We are feeling human beings, and there is nothing to feel because we are repressed. So we feel much less of everything. But we are not conscious of it, and it becomes this state that we only can recognize as, I don't want anything. Life is a drug. I'm just dragging my feet. I don't want to wake up in the morning and get off my bed. Nothing to do, nothing exciting. The thing is, find those things that are repressed because they are exciting for you. If you're really honest with yourself, they are exciting for you. They have been and they will be for a certain period of time till you completely play it out, and there will be the other new thing at some point. But before that, you still did not replay that story of your life a little bit. The gift here is an opportunity to find what's nagging you beyond those, behind that boredom, underneath of it all. If you sit quietly and instead of escaping, and escapes take different form. It's food, it's sleep. Sleep is good for you in general, it's rest in the system, it's good. But sometimes people go into sleep too often. They just sleep because then the system shuts down, there's no voices, no contradictions, no conflict, no emotions, nothing there. The world is silent. It's at least comfortable that way. Sleep is not that bad of escape, and sometimes there is too much to everything. And there's opportunity to still experience life being awake, in awakened state. So escapes needs to be understood. They need to be observed. We are escaping from our deep desire of creating and manifesting our creativity in particular forms that it could take. Yet we're afraid of it. It was pushed down in our system. It was pushed down. We were punished somewhere down the road and it's pushed down. Now all there is fears around it. Invitation is seeing it. Seeing that it's not that you don't have desires. It's not that you are bored. It's that there is something you are doing that is not interesting for you really, because you kind of want to fill your time with something, and you cannot dedicate this time to what you actually truly want, but you don't even want to see it. It's like la 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 la. I've seen it so many times when I work with clients. It's so easy to uncover if you're willing. Try to do it for yourself. Try to do it on your own if you want. Play with that. See what reveals itself. You're not bored. You're distracted from what you truly want but afraid to do. So if you find yourself that your time is spent really badly, it's unproductive and it's not enjoyable, see what are those escapes. What are your escapes? Find those escapes. What forms do they take? There's so many different forms. Talk to friends for hours and hours and hours and nothing gets accomplished, functional, and nothing gets accomplished from the standpoint of creative endeavors that call in for you somewhere. And creativity can be expressed in so many different forms. So boredom is not what we call it to be. Boredom is pointer to conflict between what we are doing at the moment and what we want to do instead. Very often people bored at work. Why is that so? Because they do something that they settled for instead of something that they inspired to do but afraid. That's the easy one to spot right there. So many times people say, oh, my work is boring and I don't even want to talk, but it's just boring. Boring. Then find what's not. Find what you've been afraid to actually go after. And go after that. What the worst can happen? You will get it or you will not, but at least you have an opportunity to explore it. Right now, you're not exploring it at all. You're hiding behind something else that doesn't give you a chance to discover. So if you're bored, sit silently and watch the boredom, the voice of it. It whispers in your ear exactly what you need to hear. The boredom is a pointer, that's all it is. It's a pointer. Your escapes are just distraction from hearing that voice of a pointer and not noticing what it's pointing to. So, congratulations, you bored? Congratulations. Because that's the greatest opportunity to actually be honest with yourself and find that gift that right now you could dedicate your time to. Without seeking for approval, needing approval, expecting approval. It doesn't matter. Your creativity wants to be expressed on its own, and it has nothing to do with desire of your ego to seek for approval. It's two separate things, so find wisdom to separate them and to disregard the need for approval because it has nothing to do with particular activity or particular call of your creative being. Deal with your ego separately. Do not include it in this process. Separate them and follow your creative instinct. And watch your fears as they come. Fear's not there to stop you. They're very rare there to really warn you. Fears are very rarely wise. Sometimes they're very functional, don't put your head under something that can cut it off. And they're very rarely functional. Very often they are imaginary scenarios that replay themselves, and they're the worst case scenario that have very little probability. And even if there is, unless it's dangerous for your survival or otherwise, or harming someone around you, go and see what happens. You will just have another life experience without judgment, as long as you don't put judgments on it, because you are your worst judge. It's not anybody else who are judging you as much as you judge yourself for outcomes that don't fit your perfect scenario. Because, back to the stories of ourselves, because you identified with outcomes that are convenient. And because any negative outcome, when you didn't accomplish something you tried, make your story replay in a manner that it's not convenient for the ego. ego does not want to be described as such. So drop that story. Drop the definition altogether. Drop all stories about yourself and purely go and explore that playground. See what happens, see what outcome it is. Life is experiment, really. This existence in this body, it's a great experiment of the divine, of the universe, of the consciousness, awareness, God, whatever. Go play. And if it doesn't feel like playing, find why the boredom exists. Why it doesn't feel like playing? Why would you sit and pout instead? I'm not going to. I'm not going to play. Sure, what are you going to do instead? Are you having fun with whatever you are choosing to do instead? Boredom is a symptom. It's just a symptom, a pointer to something you're repressing. So find that. Find that, because you deserved to play in the great play of life. You deserved to live magnificent, multifaceted life, where everything is okay, everything is welcome. You accomplished something, you didn't accomplish something. The outcome is not the purpose of it. The play itself, the expression of creativity, the process of expressing this creativity, that's what's important, that's what the purpose. So go play today. Take your toys and go play. And I will see you soon. Much love to you.